Hello all! The KAZON Cultural Index is next up on Certifiably Ingame, so I'm Rick, and let's give this species' culture a rundown. So, when a spacefaring race subjugates another, it very rarely ends well, and the KAZON are no exception to this. Having been oppressed for years by a species known as the Trabe, for ages the Trabe utilised the KAZON people as a labour force, and forced them to live in slums away from the cultured and civilised Trabe districts. The KAZON themselves were treated as second-class citizens despite their aggressive attitude for warfare. Their Trabe overlords kept them from rising up by using their own culture against them. The KAZON were divided up into different sects. Sects. Hashtag professional. These were larger than tribes and houses, although they effectively served the same function. You look out for those in your sect, raise your standing amongst the other factions, and have allies to protect your back. The Trabe often used this competitive nature among the sects to pit them against each other, in conflict, in reward, and in standing, all to drive a wedge between them and keep the KAZON from turning their efforts to liberation. It's unknown which KAZON sects existed before the Trabe invaded, but considering how easily the Trabe manipulated the KAZON into fighting one another, it seems highly likely that the sects existed in some form before the slavery. However, as was inevitable, the KAZON eventually united and overthrew them. 26 years ago, a mage named Jal Sankur did exactly what the Trabe were trying to avoid. He got the other sects talking and cooperating. Soon after, they rose up and pillaged their former masters, turning their united might against them and driving them to an individual off of their homeworld. This was a momentous day for the KAZON, and in many ways it was the beginning of a new era. The dawn of a united... Oh, no, wait, they went straight back to fighting each other once again. Well, at least this time it was on their own terms. Whether it was because of the years of infighting spurred on by the Trabe, or the fact that the sects were so integral to their own culture, it's unclear. It's probably a mixture of the two, but the KAZON split into 18 factions. Some of which are the KAZON Ogla, the Nistrim, the Halik, the Oglamar, the Relora, the Mostral, the Hobai, and the Pomar. Each sect set off from their homeworld in the repurposed Trabe technologies and began their independent expansions into interstellar space. Now, 26 years later, the sects each control different territories with various planets, minerals and resources to trade. This balance of power in the Delta Quadrant is maintained by respecting one another's borders, negotiations and flaunting their power just enough to remind you not to start something. Each sect was governed by a first Mage. A Mage was effectively a captain, and the first among them was the voice for his sect. I say his sect, as the females of the species were denied the participation in the power plays made by the KAZON, and seemingly pushed aside from any true contribution. This is due to the patriarchal structure of the KAZON, and the sentiment was mired by years of tradition. At least in public. The level of a woman's role in society could vary from sect to sect, although a level of disregard seems fairly consistent. Young KAZON are raised as warriors, and the drive to serve their sect, their families, is instilled in them very early on. The training is overseen by the men, and often dangerous grounds are used to prepare them for combat. Examples of their enemies are often brought before the young KAZON as a learning experience, and they are taught to kill and hunt to bring more power to your sect. This attitude of attaining honour is paired with the KAZON naming structure. When a KAZON is born, they are given a name, often one syllable. This very simple name, Ka, San, Kul, signifies that they are a child. Soon though, they are taught about the ways of the warrior and told that they can only be worthy once they have earned the right to live among the KAZON as men. When a child passes his rite of passage, he adopts the title Jal, and elongates his name into a longer variation. This name now serves as a message to others that he has passed his trial and is now worthy of respect. His opinions are to be heard and his actions carry weight. For example, Kal as a child becomes Jal Kal Den. Until then, they are children. It's for this reason that public displays of affection for a child are often demeaning, especially towards those who are trying to attain their Jal name. It's akin to telling them that they will forever be denied the same level of respect as their peers. The actual test of a KAZON about to come of age varies from sect to sect, and even individuals, as many are situational, but all must prove it in some fashion. Prove that they are going to be a worthy addition to their society. In the Ogler clan, for example, the young must kill an enemy of the Ogler to prove their effectiveness and their ability. In terms of punishment, imprisonment seems a short-term solution, with the KAZON often killing or banishing the offender. Exiles themselves are branded and banished from KAZON space. Any sect that they encounter will remove a digit from their hand and then turn them away. It should be noted, however, that until official status is given as an exile, the KAZON sects are very willing to tolerate and forgive a great deal if the individual can earn back their place. Of course, this too varies from group to group. Now, there's not actually that much artwork in KAZON culture. Trophies of past victories often adorn their walls. Uniforms, weapons, possessions of powerful foes and vanquished threats serve as a practical sort of ornamentation, with very little actual importance given to art for art's sake. The most decorative thing is probably their uniforms. The uniforms of the KAZON, such as they are, vary among the sects. Often leathers and furs, the look of a KAZON often helps identify which sect you've stumbled across. Some prefer a militaristic uniform look to their members, others favour a greater deal of individualism among their people, but often the styles look very similar. It should be noted that due to the lack of replicated technology and the KAZON proficiency with hunting and tracking, it's very probable that the furs and leathers that they wear are real and taken from pelts of felled hunts. So, we clearly see the importance and the structure of their culture. What ultimately is their greatest strength is also their most prominent weakness. The division of their species ensures that they remain widespread and provide an adaptability that serves them well. However, it also limits their growth. Exploited by the trade for years, the sect's infighting and political balance affects their development as a species. With so much time focused on one another, very little effort is given to developing as a species. So, with the surface thoroughly scratched, that's all the basics of the KAZON. And, now back to the usual approach, let us know in the comments which race you'd like to see next by giving the appropriate comment a like. So, we're either going to be looking at the not so mythical Asgardians of the MCU, or the Jiralhane, the brutes from Halo. Thanks for watching this episode of the Cultural Index. Now, we've been looking to see if there's enough information on the different KAZON sects to put together a video exclusively analysing each sect. But until then, I'll see you in the next video. I've been Rick. I'll see you all again later. Till then, goodbye.